You say papaya, I say pawpaw. So who's right? My family and I don't even like eating papaya or pawpaws. So why do I grow it? G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and in this video I'm going to answer those questions, and I'm also going to show you how to grow papaya from seed. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into how to grow papaya from seed, let me just answer those two questions. Here in Australia, most people call papaya pawpaw. That's technically incorrect. You could say saying pawpaw is a poor choice of words. However, that's just making a poor pawpaw pun for fun. Pawpaw and papaya are the same species of plant, but different varieties of fruit. Pawpaw are a rounder fruit with an orange or yellow flesh, whereas papaya have a red flesh that is much sweeter. They originated in the tropical Americas around southern Mexico or northern South America. Australians commonly call both the red and orange varieties pawpaw, and I do this too. But industry-wise, the actual name is papaya. Well, you could say papaya. I say a little bit of both because I'm still getting used to the name. Because up until a few years ago, I didn't know that papaya was the real name. I thought it was pawpaw. I just thought it was the same thing. There's also some confusion about the name pawpaw and where did it come from. But the most logical conclusion is that it was simply a translation error that came from papaya. To add more confusion, pawpaw is actually the name of a completely different fruit called Azimina triloba, found in North America and looks more like a mango. Pawpaws, in my opinion, don't taste as nice as papaya. And all four trees I've got here are the papayas. But to be honest, I don't like either of them much. I mean, look, I don't mind them ripe. I mean, they taste all right, but Nina and the kids, the cheese and biscuits, they just, even with cheese and biscuits, they can't stand it. However, eating it green like this is our favourite way, and it's absolutely delicious. A nice refreshing green papaya salad is a healthy, delicious way to consume this fruit, with the added advantage of picking it early before the animals or fruit fly even think of getting it. So that's mainly why we grow papaya, to eat it green. Now let's get to growing this fruit from seed. Papaya is best grown in tropical climates but can be grown in cooler climates. In fact, when we used to live down south in Albury-Wodonga, it gets very cold, and I saw plenty of papaya trees in friends' and neighbours' places. I didn't grow it myself, but it can be grown in a cool, temperate climate. I suppose as long as you have a nice warm wall or some area where it can get the maximum warmth and heat possible, especially during winter. Frost or consistent temperatures below 14 degrees Celsius is supposed to kill the plants by the book, but you might be surprised at how resilient they are in cooler areas. Even here in our subtropical climate, it can get down to 0 degrees or even below that. But as you can see, we've got 4 good healthy plants growing here without much trouble at all. So when you're growing them from seed, you've got to be aware that depending on the variety, you might need to grow more plants than you think, because some varieties are only male and female, meaning that a plant will only produce male flowers and not female flowers, thus it won't fruit at all. And then there are other plants that will produce female flowers, but they obviously need to be nearby a male plant so that bees and other insects can cross-pollinate from the male flowers to the female plant so that it can set fruit. But the good thing is you can get bisexual plants, and that's what these plants are. Plants that have male and female flowers on the same plant, and they're also apparently, and I don't know this for sure, but I've read it on the AgriFutures Australia website, and they reckon that some plants can have both male and female parts on the flower itself rather than male and female flowers on the same plant, if you get what I mean. This is becoming a really confusing video, isn't it? With different names and different parts of flower. What type of confusing fruiting tree are you? So I reckon the best way is to get the bisexual variety and collect the seeds from one of those plants. And that's exactly what I did. I was given a fruit from my uncle who had a papaya, a bisexual one, and I let that fruit ripen. And you want to let the fruit ripen properly before you collect the seed. And you'll know the fruit is ripe when the skin turns a greenish yellow. On a pawpaw, it usually turns a yellow orange when it's ripe. But if you're at all confused, a nice light press, and if it gives in fairly easily, it's usually ripe. Oh, and by the way, the seeds are edible, especially the green ones. They're nice and crunchy, but they taste awful. The last time I ate a spoonful of green seeds, I had to have a drink of milk and suck on a spoonful of honey just to get the taste out of my mouth. I like to scoop the seeds out and put it into a container with some water and then let them sit in there. What'll happen is it will ferment and it will take off that outer jelly-like layer from the seeds. That jelly layer is like similar to tomato seeds, where you'll have a layer around the seed that protects it from germinating. If you didn't have that, you'd have the seed germinating inside the fruit. Of course, the plant doesn't want that. And to get rid of it, the easiest way to do that is to let it sort of bubble away and ferment for a week or two in a glass or in a container. And then you can put the seeds on some kitchen paper, let them dry out, store them away, or just plant them out directly whenever you are ready to do so. And the way I like to sow them myself is in a large tray first, and as many as possible. I've found that germination can be irregular, and I was lucky to sow a whole heap because only several seeds ended up germinating, and if I would have only sown a few at a time, well, it would have been even more hit and miss. So I recommend over sowing, and then if a heap do come up, just select the strongest seedlings for potting up. And when those seedlings are a few inches tall, gently scoop them out and pot them up into a larger pot and grow them till they are around a foot high so that they're mature enough to be planted out into the garden wherever you want them. A pawpaw tree will typically last for 5 to 10 years, but as they grow, they get taller. And I can pick these at the moment, and I'm 6'1", so that's fine, but in a few years' time I'll need a ladder to start picking them, and commercially it starts to get a little bit dodgy trying to pick them so high and a bit dangerous. Plus, the older the pawpaw gets, say if it does get above that 5-year range mark, the fruit starts to deteriorate and it's not as good. So what commercial farmers usually do is grow them till about 4 years, and then they already have a succession crop coming through because they are pretty easy to grow from seed. Now, I didn't grow all 4 of these plants from seed. I grew just the 2. The interesting thing about it, as these 2 were potted up, I planted these 2 from a nursery. But you can see how tall they've got, but it took them quite a long time to fruit. They only started fruiting at this height, whereas these 2 here that I grew from seed have already started flowering and fruiting at about 5 or 4 foot. I'm not sure why they're fruiting earlier. Perhaps it was the different time of planting, or maybe because I potted them up and grew them in pots first, maybe they had a start and they're a little stunted anyway, and maybe they're growing smaller. I'm not sure, but I am glad that they're fruiting earlier. The other thing about the fruit is pawpaws tend to fruit all year round, especially in the subtropics or tropics. They just seem to always have fruit coming on, which is handy because that gives you an all year round food source. And if picked too early at a little green, they will ripen up okay on the kitchen bench, and they taste all right too. Normally fruit that's picked green will have a fairly bland taste, but I've found surprisingly that the ripe fruit picked green when I've just left them on the bench have tasted pretty good. But like I said, we mainly eat them green anyway, and that was just a mistake. It had been left there longer than it should have been, and it ripened on its own, and I thought I'd try it, and I was pleasantly surprised. If you enjoyed this video, I think it would be poor form if you didn't give this a pawpaw thumbs up. Second thoughts, make it a papaya thumbs up. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share the video around. That helps a lot. Bye for now. See that? I'm a papaya juggler. I don't know if I'll ever get used to saying papaya. Papaya. But that is the true way of saying it. I'm sure you guys will work it out in the comment section.